Welcome to It's UATL, your unscripted weekly dose of Black culture straight from the heart of Atlanta. I'm Nedra Bone, and I'm here with Naja Parker, Deasia Page, and Brooke Howard. Hey, y'all.
Hello, ladies.
Hey. Hey, girl. Later on, we'll be talking to licensed marriage and family therapist Stephanie Yates Anyabuile about the newest season of Love is Blind. But first, we have our Heat Check segment, where we talk about what's going on in the music world. Deasia, take it away.
Cool. So this weekend, Outkast will be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a major accomplishment for any musician, and for most Atlantans, it's been a long time coming. So today we have our UATL editor, Gavin Godfrey, here with us. He is also our resident Atlanta native. Hey.
What's up?
Hey, Gavin. And I know UATL has been working on a lot of pieces of content dedicated to Outkast leading up to the actual induction ceremony on November 8th.
So we've done everything from stories about how Outkast has influenced fashion, how women in particular have influenced their story and how they've been incorporated into the kind of greater Outkast, like lyrical discography. And then we've, to me, done a good job of having our staff take part in listing out our favorite songs. We even did a poll to ask the people what their favorite song was. And then, we have some pieces coming up about, why they're the greatest group of all time, why they've been so influential to the current generation of artists coming out of Atlanta and around the country. So we're trying to hit as many different angles as we can, but, you would probably need a full year or years to really try to encapsulate all that.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the piece about why they are the greatest group of all time, which I think is your piece.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Why do you think they are the greatest?
It's kind of like, first of all, you got to decide, are they a group? Are they a duo?
I was about to say that. Like, how are we defining group?
Yeah.
Are we not considering genre at all? We're just you're saying just of all time.
I'm going to say the best, I'm calling it the best rap group.
Okay.
Right? Okay. And I think in hip hop, we kind of use them interchangeably sometimes. Like people call Gangstar a group. They also call Gangstar a duo. Same thing with UGK. And so I feel like Outkast definitely warrants group moniker, if you will. But there's a lot of levels. I think for me personally, I like to think of folks who evolve and get better with each release. So if you think about Outkast, 6 albums, each album doesn't sound the same. You can tell there's like an evolution to it. And it's really hard, I think, for artists to evolve and do it in a way that still sounds good with each project. So you have that going for them, that they've been able to push themselves and do it better than anybody. Even like probably what's considered their weakest album, Idlewild, is probably better than like 80% of other folks' albums. That's just how they roll. But also, you can also just look at all the stems and tentacles of their influence on other artists across genres. So not just rap, R&B, rock, and like I said, even just cultural stuff. Like they've influenced style, they influenced the way people think, the idea of just like Black liberation. Like they mean so many different things outside of their music. They're
a reference point for so many different things in culture.
Exactly. Yeah. And scholars study them. So you could probably say a lot of different groups have done that, but to me personally, there's just so many checkpoints for them that say to me, beyond just output, they are the best and most influential rap group of all time.
Yeah, and I was thinking about, man, what can I argue like against that? But there's not. I feel like they've
trying to get a debate going here?
No, not really. But I'm preparing myself for debates that might come because the people would be like, oh, what about Tribe Called Quest or De La Soul? Because you had this Southern duo that was considered too Southern, or like, what are these country people, doing? And they kind of exceeded expectations, to say the least. Now you can't really say that about any other of the groups that might be in this same discussion.
Yeah, I agree with that. To debate, I went to school in New York, so I had to get in clashes with people about Wu-Tang.
I knew that was coming.
I remember once getting in an argument with a dude on my dorm floor that like, he said Dipset was more influential to music than Outkast.
That's interesting.
And I was like, I can name artists, even Wu-Tang, like some of those albums get worse as they got older. Some of those albums aren't as great. Wu-Tang only made 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever. But after that, like the rest of the stuff after that, let's be real, was kind of mid. Individual solo projects were great. But you can't really say that about Outkast. Show me a mid Outkast album and I'll show you a group who's probably better than them, but you can't. So I agree with you. I think expectations, they meet them, they exceed them, and that has been their MO throughout their career.
Can you speak on the importance of this for the hip hop community, period?
Yeah, when they first came out, no one was taking the South serious, right? Not just music, not just hip hop, but I think just us as people in general, just coming out the gate and putting the South on the map. It felt like a victory for everybody here. And I think anytime they do anything that gets any kind of recognition, it feels like a win for us. I had nothing to do with a single album. I don't rap. I don't produce. I've interviewed these dudes, but at the same time, seeing that they made it to the I guess pinnacle of awarddom in music, it feels like a victory for us because again, no one took it serious until these guys came along, and now the entire world has to recognize that this is a city that continues to put out creatives that beat the odds, persevere. When no one wanted us to, no one was looking for us. Andre had to make that claim at the '95 Source Awards about the South got something to say because he was angry. And I think now, hopefully he's not as angry. He's going to be on that stage and people will see that the South is still talking because of the conversation they kicked off for us. But yeah, I feel like that is why it's such a big win. I think it's also just a big win for, music and creatives who might not always have been comfortable in their own skin. Outkast gave us that kind of comfort blanket to feel different and be cool with that, and that being different was cool. And so it'll feel, hopefully, if they actually do show up together and perform, like an old Outkast concert, like that feeling of nostalgia we have in Atlanta. But either way, just the fact that they're there, just the fact that they're being recognized is a win for Atlanta. To me, this is like just as good as winning a Super Bowl, a World Series, an NBA championship, because we know those are harder to come by for us in Atlanta, but maybe not with the music. We get a little more victories with that.
I mean, I'm assuming Andre is going to at least show up, right?
Right.
Perform? Do we?
With that flute, maybe.
Do we think they'll actually get up there, like both of them, and perform?
I must say,
it's hard to say.
Would you bet that they'll perform?
They got to be up there to accept the award, right? Like, I don't know how the ceremony works, but like, my worry is that they're gonna be like, wait, we got Sleepy Brown up here, we got Killer Mike, we got Jid, y'all are good. Like they'll rock our songs, but if I had to guess, I'm sure right now, or at least when the announcement first came, Big Boy is probably in Andre's ear. Like, we got to do something. Just one thing. Give me this at least, right?
Because it seemed like a storybook type of ending, because in '95, that was the Source Awards where they won, what was it, Best New Artist, something like that. And that's when Andre made the statement, the South got something to say. And now 30 years later, and also during that time, they were getting booed as they were walking up there. But now, 30 years later, their first time nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame got inducted. They were on their first time. By the way, Mariah Carey has been nominated a few times and she still hasn't gotten to the final round. But just saying, like this time, everybody said, okay, yeah, they deserve to, be here. And now it's like, 30 years later and they're still.
Man, you need to send that to them and the team, what you just said. Because that to me would be like, come on, it's a full circle moment. Imagine being booed out the gate and now just being completely lauded on the way out or at the end. I feel like that would be such a perfect moment. I don't have a ton of faith that it'll happen, just because I've made peace with the idea that we might never see them perform together again or even record, an Outkast proper record again. I had to make peace with that a long, long time ago. But if it did, like you said, oh my God, that would be... I would watch the Rock Hall every ceremony every time after that, just to see if anybody could match that level of like awesomeness, I guess I would say. So fingers crossed, but yeah, I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic.
Gavin, do you have a favorite Outkast song or album?
Yeah, and this was one of the pieces of content that we did that I love, where we got the staff across the AJC to write about their favorite song. And I wrote about Spodioti Dopalicious. It's from Aquemini. I love it because it's not a rap song. It's like a spoken word song. And I think...
That's my favorite too.
Yeah, don't you love it? I mean, and I think what's crazy about it, I wrote about it, like the lyrics, when I was a kid listening to it, I was like, oh yeah. I want to get my first little taste of nightlife. This is a party song. Now I'm listening to it. Now I'm like, oh, they're telling you to be careful. You know what I mean? Like, Atlanta is this beast, this underbelly of social interaction, and there's consequences if you dive headfirst into it. And if you don't kind of, shout out to Wu-Tang, protect your neck, you could be down bad. And so layer that with these beautiful horns, this drums, and just like Andre and Big Boy sounding cool as hell. I think a while back there was a story that a colleague of mine, Rodney Carmichael, wrote, and he spoke to Andre. And Andre said, I was really into Iceberg Slim at the time. And I always thought it was cool as hell that Iceberg Slim would just talk on record. Ladies and gentlemen, Iceberg Slim is a former pimp turned author. So, do with that what you will. Right.
My stepdad stayed reading that book, yo.
See, yeah. So that was interesting because, again, when we're talking about not being afraid to try different things in music, that's something they always did. And so the idea was just like, what if we just got on a song and we spoke rather than just rapped or sang? And I think, to me, that was such a perfect example of like why Outkast is so... If you had to explain to somebody what makes Outkast great, I would play them a song like that, because it just shows that like no one asked these dudes to do it, but they did it anyway, and they did it well, and we still talk about it to this day. And that's just, to me, the pattern of what's happened with all their albums.
Gavin, thank you so much for joining us. And now it's time to talk about some reality TV. Okay, so in preparation for today's conversation, we all watched the newest season of Love is Blind. It's the 9th season, and let me tell you, our group chat was hot. Just last week was the reunion episode. This season is considered one of the most unhinged seasons yet. And not that long ago, everyone was talking about the recent season of Love Island. So it got us thinking, why are we so obsessed with reality TV about love? So our guest today is licensed marriage and family therapist Stephanie Yates Anyabwile. She also runs a popular YouTube channel where she dissects relationships shown in media, particularly those on reality television. Her channel started as a resource for other aspiring marriage and family therapists, but after she was asked by GQ to break down couples fighting in movies, her channel evolved into what it is today. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
I have to ask, how is it different comparing movie characters versus reality TV show people, real life people?
We could call them
supposedly. So they are characters.
That's an amazing question, because I actually prefer the characters over the real people, because in that case, I feel comfortable like giving a diagnosis. Nobody's feelings are going to be hurt if you give a diagnosis about a fictional character. I love being able to actually give a diagnosis and things, especially for shows that are written in a way where you can tell they did their research on this condition, or you can tell like this is based on somebody's real life. You can just feel that. But with reality TV, I think what's appealing about that to people is just the guys they're seeing on there, like, that reminds me of my ex, or this is something I do. And there's a lot of validity in that as well. So, some people really love the character breakdowns because I can go more in depth and say more. But some people really love the reality breakdowns because, it feels a little bit more relatable to what they are seeing in their lives.
What is it that you hope people learn from your videos?
I feel like my main goal, especially with these sort of breakdowns, is like relational wellness. A lot of times, there are things that we're doing and it's very challenging to recognize that we're doing it because it's us and we're able to justify any of our behaviors. Most people don't believe that they're bad people. So if you're doing something, you feel like you're doing it for a reason, but we might not recognize the consequences of our choices or the long-term damage and how it can affect our relationships. And so that is the most important thing to me, is when people say, my marriage has really been helped watching these videos, or I saw a lot of myself in this person and I didn't like it, or some, I've been getting a lot of comments this week. I signed up for therapy because of these videos.
Wow.
Those kind of things, that's what keeps me motivated when it gets really challenging because I still work full time. I still see a full caseload. So it's a lot of commitment for me and for my husband, but those kind of comments are what keep us very motivated.
I love that, because I've been watching your videos for a while now, and I'm like, am I a little avoidant? Is that me that I see in that character? So it is really helpful to have language for these type of behaviors that we either see or that we exhibit ourselves.
Brooke and I were the newbies on this, and this was the first time that we watched Love is Blind.
Okay.
It's the show on Netflix about couples who meet behind a curtain, a wall, or whatever. And the pods in the pods, and then maybe get married or engaged or whatever, right? Okay.
Wait, did you guys finish?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We were texting each other back and forth like, girl, did you make it through?
It was painful.
It was painful.
From the very beginning, you know? And so I found myself thinking about you and wondering, how does she do this? Like, how do you absorb this in real life? And then also on reality TV, because it was very painful to watch.
Yeah, it has been challenging. And there are a lot of times where I typically assess how overwhelmed I am in my personal life before I even decide to do a season, because it can be really triggering. I think for me, this season particularly, I was just so frustrated with the casting process, not because of like this, this season wasn't entertaining enough, but because I'm looking at these people like this is a real pain that these people are experiencing. This is a real part of another person's trauma now because you exploited them for money. That's a hot take, but I do feel like it's very unfortunate, people, especially the people who are really on there because they're like, I've tried everything else. This is crazy. I'm really not into reality TV, but some people have found their spouse, and I'm really ready to be at that stage of my life. And then to just end up being traumatized. And there are times like last season, I didn't even cover it. I was just like, you guys, I can't do it. I'm not breaking down season 8. At a point, I got a comment that was like, I can't wait for you to break down this season because it's so unhinged and scary. And I was like, unhinged and scary? Like, what do you mean scary? But then when I started watching it, I was like, I see exactly what you mean.
Okay, so we want to hear your take. Has reality TV been taking it too far lately? Why or why not? Use your phone's voice recorder to send us a response on Instagram at It's UATL or email us at uatl@ajc.com. And don't forget to add your name, your age, and where you're from.
And we'll be right back.
What were some standout moments from this past season? I know we're probably going to give away some spoilers, but I'm okay with that.
Right. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. The one everybody is talking about is Edmund and KB.
I can't wait to see your video on
That's
this.
the one everybody's talking about.
You know what? For that, is it even the couple? Or is it just Edmund?
So Edmund and KB, they are what we like to describe as the featured Black couple of the season. And we just mean folks who made it outside of the pods. Edmund is eccentric and he describes this traumatic upbringing. And KB, who was a social worker, she kind of connected with that because I'm sure she deals with that a lot in her work life.
But as Black women, like it hit even deeper because you seeing how much she had to coddle him. I saw like how she was like handling him with kitty gloves or something to make sure like he wouldn't act out in a certain way. And when I was watching her, I remember a number of times when I had to act a certain way with a man to make sure he wasn't violent or aggressive with me. And I saw how she did that, one, as a protective sort of method. And then also too, like, sis, as Black women, we have to go and treat our men like children.
Yeah.
She seemed to be stepping into this role of
mother
and, mental health specialist. Like she was, using her social work background.
Right,
and I'm like, this is not...
We're here for love. Right. I'm not here to work a new client.
Without getting paid.
But that's the part we have to really talk about too, though, is like, do you really think that Edmund wasn't showing this in the pods? Because I feel he was. I think that there were plenty of indications in the pods that their relationship dynamic would be her maybe emotionally caring for him. And I think she kind of played into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They even have this whole conversation about, he's like, I'm not a traditional guy. She was like, I'm not a traditional woman. She's like, I don't care if I'm the breadwinner, if he's a breadwinner, if I stay home, if he stays home. That's the stuff that really was appealing to him because he's basically saying like, I know I'm not like your average guy. Like, especially in the Black community, we do have expectations, I think, for what a masculine role looks like, what a feminine role looks like. And I think that he was basically saying like, I'm very different than what you've experienced before. Like he's kind of trying to tell her that he's like, look, my thing I like to do is roller skating. Like I literally traveled abroad to roller skate.
Let me ask you this, because this is what got me. And this was very early. I think it was the first episode. He was laying on the floor licking the ground.
Was he kissing
it or licking it?
He was on the ground and other people saw it and was wondering if he was okay.
Yeah. All I can say is that one thing we can't deny is that he's eccentric.
Yeah.
And I do think that especially as a Black man, that's going to read a lot differently than if it was, I think if anybody was on the floor kissing the ground, everybody would be like.
And I'm going to say that he was licking because I swore I saw him lick.
If he licked it, that's really wild. I saw him kissing it, which is also wild, but licking is like.
Because even the guy next to him, I can't remember his name. He was like, what are you doing?
Right. Get off the ground.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we know he's experienced a lot of trauma.
Yes.
when you get to the wedding, that was heartbreaking.
Let me tell you, like when his mom didn't come because she had other things to do. I'm like, girl, are you at Publix? Like, what are the personal things you're doing right now?
Mom had some.
She had some issues too.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing is like you talk about like multi-generational trauma, right? And so I do have a lot of empathy for him as well. And I think that for KB, that is probably what also attracted her or appealed to her about him is like, unfortunately, as Black women, sometimes we are very attracted to the idea of saving someone. And I think that she felt like she is this person who runs a group home. He's somebody who came up in foster homes. Like, the story writes itself. Like, I'm going to give him the love he never had. And then to just even see, like, when somebody says no to him at the altar, there was only one person that really came to even check on him.
Right.
Like, he didn't have his person there, maybe just people he knew, but no one felt close enough to be the person to come and check on him other than his 5th grade teacher.
Producers allowing him to be the only Black man who made it, that was a choice.
That's something that unfortunately happens a lot of the seasons. But when you really think about it, think about the Black men in your life. How many of them do you think would even sign up for a show like this? It's slim pickings.
I can't think of a single one.
I can't either. That's a good point.
I mean, first of all, if they want to get married, they can. There's plenty of people that they don't have to go through a process like this. Right. And so if you are, it's either because nobody will date you or because you definitely want some clout. Neither one is a great reason to be on this show. So I think it's like slim pickings if they're trying to have like some diversity on the show. Yeah. Because, you know, they love, especially for the Black viewers, you know, they, even on Netflix, they'll have a different couple that's featured depending on like what kind of other stuff you watch. And they love showing like the Black people at the beginning, but then when you watch the show, you're like, where are they? I never even saw one of your pod dates, like not one. You know, so
we keep coming back to these words, unhinged and scary. Say more about why this season particularly felt that way.
I think it was just the very heightened emotions that we saw. And then also I think it was a lot of the switch ups. So, you know, like when we talk about Nick, to see like how he's telling Kate, I love you. And then he's like telling Annie, I can see myself proposing to you. I'm not jerking you around. I mean, these are direct quotes.
Right.
And then you like go back to Kate starting out the date saying, I love you. And you end it with, I have love for you. And the whole date she's saying like, I feel like you love me because you're telling me you love me so quickly. And then within that one date, you totally change your mind because I have love for you is not the same as I am in love with you. And then you see like Casey, how that was with Patrick, you know.
And for clarity, Casey is a white woman and Patrick is Asian.
Yes.
And was she Mormon? Is that?
She was raised Mormon.
Okay, she was raised Mormon.
I think they're not Mormon anymore.
Right. Like, what was she doing? Because I felt like as soon as he revealed his ethnicity, she had feelings about it, you know?
A lot of this, I also have to hold Patrick accountable.
Yes.
Right? Because she was showing you plenty of signs that should have told you, like, this person might not be marriage-minded. You know, I even think telling him, yes, you should tell me your ethnicity, I feel like that was a red flag. Because you're on Love is Blind. Like, why is his ethnicity that important to you where you need to know? Once you found out, and like going into like such a sexualized conversation of I just can't wait to rub all over you. I can't wait, you know. You start questioning like fetishization. Yes. Then she talks about like how her one brother only dates Asian girls. The other one like, you know, just starts feeling like.
And I appreciated in your video debriefing that where you talked about, and I'm going to forget the term, you can remind us, when Casey was saying, basically breaking up with him, but kept saying, I love you, and jumping on him.
Yeah. So the term is fawning. And so what we're familiar with when we talk about trauma responses or even sometimes like anxiety responses, we're familiar with, you hear fight or flight. Then more recently, we start incorporating fight, flight, or freeze. And then even more recently, we started incorporating fawning. So this is another response that we'll have to trauma where you start fawning over a situation that might feel potentially harmful or possibly abusive. Like, we don't really know about Casey's history with her family. We don't know her history. And sometimes when you turn to fawning, it's basically a way of like, I don't want to make this person angry or upset. Or in her case, I think she was very worried about how she'd be received by the general public as well.
Which she said.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing you have to remember too is I think we have a lot more insight into these people than the people they're dating do, because we get to see their confessionals. We get to see them in the lounge.
Crazy.
You know, so there's a lot of times we're like, girl, why would you?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, they don't know these things that they're saying, you know, to the camera and stuff.
And I love how you open up a lot of your videos too. I don't know these people.
Right. Let me be
I'm basing
clear.
it based off of what they've shown us and the edit. I think it's important that you mention that because you're right. We don't.
And the thing is too, like, I always say now I also add in any new information we learn could change any of our perspectives.
Yeah.
Right? You hear one new fact and it totally changes everything. Like the fact that Joe and Madison had already broken up and they had to like film it. So like they were basically acting. And
See, I didn't know that.
I didn't know it.
and
Yeah.
that kind of changed
I didn't know
everything.
that.
The people in my comment section, they just know everything.
Yeah.
They,
So you mean the scene in the apartment
yeah.
was
They-
after they had broken?
They'd already
so
broken
the
up.
tears?
That and doesn't that change everything?
Man, I'm mad.
That changes everything. Now, I mean, that expectation of for him to comfort her and everything, and he might just be sitting there like we already had this conversation, you know.
Oh,
so.
you know, that's making more sense.
Yeah, who knows? So
Because he was like, he was ready to go.
awkward.
Like,
he was like, I'm relieved.
But I love the way his hand was just sitting, and then it was on her shoulder. Then it moved to the sofa, and he was just like, "Can I get out of
he
here?"
was waiting for it to
trying
be
to go.
over. It was so clear.
He's trying to go.
He's like, and scene.
So we're talking about all of these toxic traits, bad relationships. What are signs of a healthy couple who could possibly make it?
Yeah, I love that. I feel like being able to hear a person's experience without making it about you. Another green flag would be being able to have a conversation with someone in those moments where you are feeling your insecurities and owning that. This is not something for you to fix, but just letting you know this is where I'm at. That is another green flag. It's just being able to own, you know, insecurities are inevitable, but you have to be able to own that it's yours.
Stephanie, you mentioned earlier there's a type of person often that is attracted to finding love on a show like this. What responsibility should casting have, you know, just ethically for who they decide to put on these shows?
And, you know, I know I'm very, very critical of casting, but I also know they're in a very tough position because there aren't a lot of people from every different demographic they need that would even be willing to sign up for a show like this, especially after all the seasons that have passed. Now, that's why, like, you look at season 1, it's a lot more successful because people had no clue what this was.
Right.
They're like, this sounds good. Like, talking, like, giving somebody opportunity to get to know me without looking at me. But then now it's like, you know, a couple of the girls from season 2 have come out talking about how much money they make now. And like both of them have very good jobs where they were already in the 6 figures. And they're like, I make 3 times as much. Mind you, neither one of them said yes at the altar. So it's not even about like getting married, right? It's like, and at this point, you know, you have a lot of people who just know that no matter what the outcome is, their life is going to change forever.
Right.
And usually for the positive, because even like the worst villain on the show has a following.
What kind of screening, like mental health wise, though, should they be going through?
I mean, obviously you want to check for psychosis. You don't want to put anybody on there who's active psychosis. You want to make sure there's a reality check. What I love is like on Married at First Sight, they have people from different specialties. So like, for example, they have a sociologist who walks through the person's living accommodations, looks through their drawers. They have like maybe a family therapist who talks to their family. Do you think this person is ready to get married? You know, so I think that they should be doing more than just giving out like some sort of questionnaire. There should be some actual investigation into this person's background.
By professionals.
Or like sometimes you have people who are like lying about their finances. We should at least confirm you actually work where you say you're working. Like, you know, there are ways to confirm that those kind of things. And I think it's that critical. We're talking about marriage.
Right.
It's a life decision.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned also, too, like us watching them, that we kind of relate to them therapeutically. But how do you think that this will carry with the people who are actually on the shows later in life? Like, what trauma will they have? Will they still have trauma?
Yeah, I think, I really think that's one of those things that I would love if somebody was doing a study of that, and it was like we could follow them through the years, because you have that immediate gratification, which is really not that immediate because these shows air a year later, 2 years later, of now you have a following, your life has changed and you are making more money than you ever have before. But on the other hand, it's like also it's almost like winning the lottery. Because, like, now you have all of this and, like, the people that you left are expecting to be a part of that process as well. And it's like now the whole world knows about, like, the time my dad cheated on my mom, right? How did your family respond to that? Yeah. So I think, the family relationships are probably impacted. Financially, of course, you're impacted. But, then just, like, you're stuck in a certain box, like one of the worst moments in your life. Love is Blind has gone through quite a few lawsuits at this point about, like, harmful conditions and people saying they were in like abusive, scary situations, and producers told them they had to stay or encouraged them to stay.
Oh, that's why they act so unstable.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
something.
With all of this, your worst moments are being highlighted for the world to see. That's traumatizing in and of itself. And I think that some of it is just like, you go in thinking I'm doing one thing, and then you kind of lose autonomy and control over your life for a couple of months. Wow. Somebody's telling you when you can eat, what you can drink, what you should be talking about. Somebody's telling you to reenact a breakup that was already traumatizing the night before.
Crazy.
Like, just really think about that. Having to reenact one of the worst moments of your life just so we can make sure we got the sound bites for our trailer.
In these shows, you can create favorites, you can create villains. So can you talk a little bit about how does someone end up being one or the other, and is it necessary to have a villain in these shows?
I think that for a successful show, unfortunately, you do have to have a villain, because when you're talking about, are people going to be paying for a Netflix subscription next year if this season of Love is Blind is boring? Peacock, are they going to do it if Love Island is boring? We're at this point, we're talking about dollars.
Yes.
And the best way to get people to watch things is to get them upset, rage bait. Like, it's almost like an addiction.
Absolutely. Right. As you were saying that, I was thinking, I'm sure that I am the villain in someone's story.
Definitely. Absolutely. That's such a great way to say it. All of us are typically the villain in someone's story. As a therapist, I hear that all the time, and I'm always thinking, this person that we've been talking about for a year has no clue that they are such a big part of your narrative. They have no clue.
How would you respond if somebody you knew wanted to go on one of these dating shows?
I think, honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to it, to be totally honest with you. I think it's...
Right. It seems like such a contradiction.
I wouldn't be opposed to it only because if they're there for the right reasons, it's fine. It's just use your brain, like, check in with other people about how they're experiencing this person. So, I mean, the reason I say that is because between my clients and family members, friends, it is really hard to date these days. It's extremely hard to date. And the reality is some people do actually walk away from these shows with their life partner, with their spouse. That is a possibility. So I wouldn't be like judgmental or opposed. I would just trust your intuition. Don't be afraid to walk out of there alone. Don't be desperate. Just be vulnerable and open. And if this is not your process, this is not your process. I honestly wouldn't judge it.
Do you see how they may evolve in the future?
I already see them evolving to, I do think at the beginning, it truly was like an experiment. Like, this is a really cool experiment. Like, let's film this and see what happens. People have been doing arranged marriages for centuries. What if we did it with experts choosing the person? Like, I love that, and that part of me, the person who loves research and studies, loves the aspect of these social experiments. But, over time, they started seeing like we can make a lot more money if these people are a little unhinged. So why would we like have everybody be,
normal?
Yeah, emotionally sound and mentally sound. Like, why would we have that? We're not like going to make less money. Like, who cares if they actually get married as long as everybody's talking about it? Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't evolve any further past that.
Yeah. Would you go on one of these if you weren't married?
That's a good question. Probably not. Just knowing how I am, being totally transparent, I would absolutely say and do some stuff that the world would not jive with. I mean, you practically have to be an angel not to get caught in the, crossfire with these edits. Like, you can't be tired and having an attitude. I get hangry. Like, I honestly know that that would not be a smart decision for me.
I mean, it makes you think about how little information on any given day you have about anyone or their situation or what's going on. And we make all sorts of judgments without knowing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I love watching your videos, because I'm coming in knowing that I dislike one of the people on the show, but I'm going to listen to you give me a different perspective, something I might not have thought of before, and it grows my empathy a little bit.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
appreciate
helpful.
that.
Yeah, I mean, you just changed me on Nick, right?
Yeah.
In like 2 minutes, because I'm like, he's a joke. He's a joke.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time
This has
and
been
your
so
channel.
fun.
Yes, I have loved this so much.
Thanks so much for listening to It's UATL.
UATL is a source for Black culture and community in Atlanta. It's powered by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and our supporters. If you're enjoying this podcast, join us as a UATL paid supporter at uatl.com.
And if you like the episode, please follow us and leave us a rating and a review. It really helps. See you next week.